Gun Sports Radio is sponsored by Love Radio Network. Welcome to Gun Sports Radio, all about shooting, hunting, self-defense, and more. Now, here are the hosts of Gun Sports Radio, Dave Stahl and Lance Pelkey.
All right, folks, welcome. Gun Sports Radio, Lance Pelkey back in the house.
Here we are, man.
Glad to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Gun Range San Diego, major sponsor, 7853 Balboa Avenue in San Diego, 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Go to gunrangesandiego.com, gunrangesandiego.com. Also got Michael Schwartz in the house. He's burning up that cell phone.
What's going on?
What's kicking, chicken?
Well, I just got back from we had our mentors barbecue, so we just drove in from that. We had a bunch of our San Diego County gun owners mentors at a big barbecue out in Ramona.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Tasty?
It was.
No, she didn't bring us any.
I did.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. This poor guy, Hollywood's over here eating candy bars.
I'm just trying to get energy back for this. I mean, I'm trying to keep up with you guys. You're so
It's
high.
tough, dude. It's tough. Hey, but Michael, you got a special guest for us today?
I do. There's an I should say a message board called Calguns, and it's been on for 15, 20 years now. And it's a place where people across California can post and talk about gun laws and that sort of thing. And there are a few people on there that are leaders, frankly, and always know what they're talking about. And one in particular goes by the handle B. Weise, and that stands for Bill Weise. And he's been a very, very strong and educated voice on Calguns. And I thought it would be pretty neat to have him on the show today and just talk to him about who he is, how he got involved, and just learn a little bit more about the guy behind the handle. So, Bill, are you on the line?
I'm here.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Real good. Just got back from the San Jose Gun Show.
Oh, nice. How was it?
It was thin. It has been thin for a while, but there are people buying ammo, and that was the bulk of the activity there.
Oh, all right.
Including myself.
Yeah, get ahead of that January deal, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, we appreciate you being on.
No problem. Let's not panic too much. That in no way means skipping our advocacy. But for those people that want to buy ammo and are willing to spring for a little bit of it out of your pocket, go get your CNR FFL and your COE, Certificate of Eligibility.
And what will that do for you?
That makes you exempt from a lot of the stuff. And the real issue will be less the legality than places honoring it. You have to double check if out of state honors that, or if, but I think we can drive to Reno, pick up ammo or this or that. And the real thing will be to just save yourself a line at the gun show where they have to run your transaction. You should be able to just kind of badge yourself through with that.
See, now, and this is exactly why I wanted to have Bill on. Bill, you've been, I remember seeing your name on Calguns, 15 years ago, at least?
Something, boy, time has flown, certainly from 2004 or 5.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so maybe what was it, 10, 12, 13 years ago. And you've always been a very, very strong voice on Calguns. You've always been, if I may say it, a leader. Everything you always say, or everything you say, usually turns out to be factually correct. Anybody that's
I've been wrong. I've been wrong on some politics, but nobody can predict some California politics, except it just seems to shift left, and how fast that is moving is really the question.
Right. Well, my question is, so how did you get into this? How did you get to be an expert? You really are, very knowledgeable on everything. How did it all start?
I grew up shooting my dad's 22 and later his 45s out in the Nevada desert, out, family trips to Oregon. And then once I became employed and, working and having pocket money, I wanted some more toys and got them and enjoyed them and enjoyed shooting with friends. It's not only the shooting, it's the barbecues and the like. And then we all remember 1989 when Roberti Roos came about.
And tell everybody a little bit about Roberti Roos. What was
Roberti Roos? Was the first California so-called assault weapons ban, it banned in mid '89 required registration. I think up through '90, and there was a catch-up registration of any of 56 different kinds of so-called assault weapons. At the time, DOJ said that only applied to Colt for AR and AKs. It only applied to Colt AR-15s, and they didn't play the name game and all that. So people didn't have to register their other stuff. So, I registered my HK91 and said, oh, they're not going to do any more crap like this. Pardon my language. And sure enough, the federal ban came around in 1994.
Yep, 94.
Yeah. And I'm just starting to see this, and I'm more and more worried about California. And I didn't want the problems, though, of just having a regged AW. So I sold off my HK91 at $3,000 profit legally.
Wow.
Through a dealer. Yeah. Actually $2,800, but order of magnitudes here we're talking.
Right.
And I got myself a Colt Sporter, and I was happy. Enjoyed shooting this and that, and had a lot of fun. In 1998, I believe it was AB 23 was proposed, which was essentially the first cut of SB 23. I may have that number wrong. And Governor Pete Wilson vetoed it. I'm somewhere in the archives. There may be my letter there. I had a bunch of other friends do the letter writing, like NRA is always, saying call and write.
Right.
And I forget who Governor Wilson's spokesman was. Was it Sean Steele? Was it, I can't remember, but I'm hearing him on the radio for the reasons why the bill wasn't signed. And the reasons why are pretty focused, and probably a lot of the words many people would be using, the phrases would be the same, but pretty much the words he was saying in one utterance were mine without the ums and the ahs, or maybe a few changes in conjunction.
Right. Nice.
So that kind of made me feel good. Not that I did anything to actually stop him for signing, but to give him cover language is I think, a useful thing. Everybody should think how somebody else will express what they're trying to convey in somebody else's coming out of somebody else's mouth.
So just to recap, you're as a hobby, you're a shooter. A couple of laws are passed on the state and federal level. You comply and say, okay, fine. I'll give a little bit. And then Governor Pete Wilson, it sounded like he was using some of your talking points, and you got a little taste of activism. And obviously weren't happy with what was it was getting worse and worse, I should say. Some of these laws passed.
Yes, and so my activism at that point, well, other than that stuff, it was at a personal level. I'm seeing the way this is going. I'm seeing some of the relationships with the way the federal ban, the 94 ban works. So I start buying receivers. I urge other people to buy receivers, for building up into legal configuration. I'm already cognizant of the federal restrictions at the time that didn't lift till 2004. And then because we know, and we could say it was just a few votes, SB 23 came in the year after. And that's the big one. And so people were buying lots of stuff. And I really got into being a software guy, the details, the devil's in the details, maintaining federal legality and state legality. What would happen before and after certain cutoff dates? What's going to happen to you? When you fill out that registration form, was that going to restrict you? At that time, the DOJ said, just register it for what you have, and you're free to change it. Well, just to make sure, I registered my Colts with the various possibilities of barrel combinations, and I actually had mated the various uppers to the various lowers to actually say those had existed. So, I treated it like a software project.
Interesting.
And then,
hey, Bill, this is Dave. Unfortunately, we have to pay a couple bills, so we're going to ask you to stay with us. We're going to take a small break, and we come back, and we'll hear a whole lot more about Calguns Foundation.
Got a deal.
You're the man. All right, folks. We're going to take a small break. Gun Sports Radio right here in the house. Thanks to Gun Range San Diego for all their support. We'll be back
being here
in a moment. No one's talking to you. Folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio. This is show 67.
Got it.
And this segment is brought to you by the wonderful folks at Trident Gunsmithing. And I don't know what's in their coffee, but I guess they're tired of dusting product, because I got an email, 3% above cost on all in-stock rifles and pistols.
Okay.
For 1 week. From the 10th to the 17th.
Okay.
In store only, so you need to get yourself down there. 5% discount on all ammo, 10% discount on all other accessories.
Nice.
Only for a week, not online. You have to physically waddle in there. And that's at 8665 Marilani Drive, Suite 250. You can't miss it. So
great.
If you're interested in a firearm or a rifle or a pistol, 3% above their cost from the 10th to the 17th, in-store only.
And the best day this week to do that is on Tuesday, when San Diego County Gun Owners has our monthly meeting at
Shadows plug there.
Yeah.
I like it.
I was hoping to make it. I'm working that night.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely
So after the meeting, swing by the Gun Range San Diego and do some shooting, and
there you go.
And tell me everything you learned at the meeting, because I'm going to miss it.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead, go back to Bill. Bill,
sure.
Welcome back.
Howdy.
So,
all right.
So, Bill, you were working your way through. You're an activist. You're getting more and more involved. But what do you? I mean, what's your day job at this point? You're, as a volunteer activist, that's not what you're doing full time. But what are you doing? Where in California are you, and what are you doing as a day job? And what's your?
I'm an embedded software engineer, basically a programmer for non-desktop PCs, and I've written internal software that goes into a lot of widgets or chips. I was one of the firmware jockeys on both the flip video line of cameras and contour cameras over the last decade and plus. And some of you might have recalled those in stores. A lot of shooters like the contour camera because it mounts to a pick rail on a rifle much better than, say, the GoPros.
Wow. And so, all right, so you're working software, doing engineering, that sort of thing, but on the side, you're seeing how bad things are getting in California. You're seeing that, hey, I can, at least have an influence on the governor, no less. So then what happened? You're in the late 90s, and then what happened?
Well, by then SB 23 happens. Nothing we can do about it. So it's just I start, helping people on compliance, because there's issues in confusion between the Fed and state laws. And a lot of people were blowing off the Fed laws. Oh, they'll never bust for that. In fact, that was told to me, I think, in 2003, or was it early 2004 at the big Reno show. And I see some non-compliant items there, some nice rifles from a vendor, but they're not federally compliant. I said, you're going to get in trouble for this. Oh, they ain't busting for that. Jeez. And sure enough, I hear a month later, and I think it's the same guy. Could be a lot, but that he was busted for selling non-94 crime bill compliant ARs, and he pled out with multiple felonies, or I should say they, because I think there were multiple people, and that would have been about 4 weeks before the 1994 ban sunset in 2004. Talk about timing.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of these shall not comply people. Only negative things are going to happen to them. I'm sad to say. Keep fighting, but don't dig yourself in a hole either.
Yeah, I agree with you. That I hear that a lot too.
Yeah. So instead, there's something I call aggressive compliance, and that's when we started looking at AR lowers. This is about 2005, late 2005. A variety of people are getting the ideas, and that, we're reading the Herritt decision. We should have read that 7 years ago, 5 years ago, which specifies make and model requirements to be considered banned by name. But we're looking at this and we're saying, well, if you have what we call an off-list lower receiver, you can build up an AR into a California legal SB 23 compliant firearm without these weird blocked receivers and this and that. And so it starts really taking off with Wes Morris and I at the San Jose Gun Show. And it got kind of funny because the DOJ came in and the enforcement agent turned a little red and said, we're going to ban this in 2 weeks. And that's where the famous joke, when something's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Since then.
So for those who don't know, if you're ever on Calguns and you ask some question like, well, gee, when are we going to overturn this? Or, gee, when is this going to happen? The inside joke on Calguns is always somebody says, 2 weeks. And I know I've always wondered what the origin of that is, and I didn't realize that's what it was.
That was the origin. And no arrests of anybody occurred. Don Kilmer stopped by, talked with Iggy Chin for a while, who was the agent, and everything occurred.
Don's an attorney.
Yes. And of quite of some note, we actually had a real incorporated Second Amendment in California due to the Nordyke case for, was it 60 or 90 days before, of course, it went en banc, and the Ninth kicked it back. And we had to wait for Heller.
So what you're describing, what you took to the gun show there, and what they wanted to ban in 2 weeks, is really that was kind of the origin of a featureless AR. Is that what you're describing?
Yes, a featureless AR using at that time a fixed magazine with screws or attachments. It met all the recipe list in SB 23 for not being described as an assault weapon.
I see. Interesting.
Later on came the bullet button locking device that allowed you to detach the magazine, but it was not considered a detachable magazine under the actual regulatory terms.
Because you had to use a tool.
Yes. And in fact, there was a letter the NRA's attorneys Chuck Michelle wrote that we found later on that asked the DOJ, can you detach the magazine if you use a tool and remove it? And they said, yeah. And, quiet, and you can hear the grudging voice in there. We also had to worry about a legal construct known as constructive possession. If you have these parts and you're getting ready to assemble this, are they going to bust you for having the separated parts?
Right. So if you have all the parts that you can make something illegal, do you technically have something that's illegal or not? That's what constructive.
Correct. And for the field of assault weapons at the time, having separated parts and an intent to build a legal rifle, you're okay. That has elevated now a little bit with the, pardon my pronunciation, the Nguyen decision. So you really want to play things clean.
Okay, so when did you actually start on Calguns, the message board? When did that come about?
Well, I've been just a participant in discussion and hey, watch this, don't do this, we could do that on certain things. But then it just blew up in probably October, November of 2006.
Wow. And how do you know? Now you have a life and a career and a hobby and all kinds of stuff. How do you how much time do you spend every week poring over this material? Is this something that's this is what you do in your free time, or how much time do you spend?
Yes, and also even here I'm sitting home and I'm getting some work done. Well, if you're doing the kind of work I do, there's periods where the computer has to grind or run a test cycle, and then you go tap, 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 talk to somebody about that, and and it's a nice change. That's one of the things. I feel bad for the people that have to do gun rights day in, day out. It's a real toll on your soul. You're fighting for something that you shouldn't have to do.
Right.
So in this case, it's in some ways a diversion for me.
Nice. Now, I wanted to. We're just got a few more minutes, but I wanted to ask you a couple questions. If someone's out there listening to you right now, I actually make the case all the time. Hey, look, go on Calguns, go on Facebook or whatever, for entertainment, but don't get that confused with activism. We still need you out there in the trenches, doing the stuff. If you had to give advice to an activist, to somebody out there going, well, gee, what can I do to help? What would you recommend?
Kick a few bucks to your favorite gun orgs. I'm a Super Life NRA member, a CRPA member, and we at Calguns Foundation could use some spare change too to keep the roster lawsuits and stuff, and the Sylvester waiting period lawsuits and many other things going. But the other thing is, no matter how bad it is right now, you can't give up. And one of the things is to increase the pain on the legislature. When these bills pass, we used to be able to get people, or when they were just proposed, we'd get people on the phone causing them pain, phone, fax, email, and that burns up legislators and their staffers' time. They don't like that. So the more people that give up, the less fight we have. If we can be a pain, sometimes that really does help. So when the NRA is asking, call, write, email, and they get out there on the forums all the time, please do that. Go take a smoke break. Get a call. Burn that staffer's time. You're diverting it from fundraising or other constituent services. Burn that time. Make them feel the pain. They have to listen to you. And even if you call legislators out of your area, okay, have the zip code of that area so they don't. If they check it, they'll keep the call. Otherwise, they'll just say, "You're not from our area," and hang up. Right. So know the area where you're calling. So we got to go to a commercial. I really, really appreciate you coming on, Bill. I think that you've. If you don't mind my saying, I think you've been a kind of a fascinating character on Calguns, and I really appreciate all that you do for the Second Amendment in California. I truly do, and I'm glad that we had a At this point, I'm just trying to keep them out of jail.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate it. So also, before we go to commercial, you are a board member for Calguns Foundation.
Yes, sir.
What's the website?
CalgunsFoundation.org.
Great. Easy. All right, buddy. Hey, thanks a million, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. We'll see you around, Mike.
Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, we're going to take a small break. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio. Hollywood is in the wings. He's got the makeup on. He's already gargled, so he'll be back.
Ready to go.
Range San Diego right here on AM 1170. The Answer. Folks, welcome back to Gun Sports Radio right here in San Diego, AM 1170. I'm Dave.
Hey, baby. I'm Lance.
And this segment is brought to you, well, it's not really. We forgot to talk about Gatsky, Dillon, and Balance. We never want to forget about Gatsky, Dillon, and Balance. Well, John didn't call in today. He's getting ready for a heavy-duty court case. But you can go to calfirearmslaw.com, cafirearmslaw.com. Send in questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Or you can call them at 760-431-9501 Monday through Friday. So if you're ever looking for a good, honest lawyer that deals with the gun industry, that's the man, because everybody in this room calls him pretty much on a regular basis.
And seriously, someone ought to keep his phone number handy. Keep that website handy, baby, because if something ever comes up or you're thinking that he's the man.
He is definitely the man.
He is the man. We appreciate him, too.
So Hollywood's in the house. Gun Range San Diego sponsors this segment and the whole show because we just love them to death. 7853 Balboa Avenue, 10 to 10, 7 days a week. GunRangeSanDiego.com. This is the Nordstrom's of gun ranges, just not the price. We're going to talk about the 12 Guns of Christmas.
Yeah, we're having a good time with the 12 Guns of Christmas. And I got to tell you, John Dillon's so awesome. I sincerely believe I'm about 3 phone calls away from a restraining order. That's how much I bug this guy. But, what happens is we get these people that, they don't know. Most gun owners, they own 1 or 2 guns, and they are, very compliant, and they want to be compliant, and they live their lives with compliant. With the guns is like a very offset thing that's in their mind, and then they see something on the news or something comes up on the paper or something like that, and you know how the media is. They try to spark havoc and panic in people because it sells newspapers, it sells advertising and the radio, TV, whatever, and so they come in and they have these questions. And Veronica does a really good job of making sure all of our employees are trained. John Dillon comes in, gives us clinics, and tells us all these things, and we stay up on the new laws, and we print them out from the DOJ. So we try to be as informative as we can. But sometimes an employee or a customer comes in with a question we just don't know, and I call John, and he responds lickety split.
Wow!
And I can get that question answered very fast for our really good clients and customers out there at Gun Range San Diego. It's awesome.
Lickety split.
Lickety split.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Well, I'm an old soul.
So am I. You and your silk skivvies.
My silkies. Oh man, I got to tell you, we had a fun time yesterday at the High Dive. Alone and Unafraid, and thanks again to Veronica for giving me the time off. We did a big Veterans Day event, raised a lot of money for a couple of different veteran organizations out there.
Made a complete fool of yourself.
Absolutely.
And you did it so well.
It's easy to do when you're me. Yeah. But we had a good time. And, talking about, we're talking about earlier about what you need to get that ammo without having to go through all the rigmarole. And, it's not going to be that big a deal. I don't think it's definitely an infringement on our Second Amendment rights. But Gun Range San Diego is teamed up with Worldwide Ammunition Distributors, and we are selling some very high end, very well made remanufactured. Now, there's a difference between a reload and a remanufactured. A reload is you get some brass, throw some powder and a bullet in it, bang, it gets back out there in the range, and that's a reload. But they're doing some really high-end remanufacturing where they take the brass, they clean it, they inspect it, they do all these things to make sure that it's safe, and then they put it through the whole process on a manufacturing level, not just some guy in his basement pulling a lever. Right. And so they got some great deals on some remanufactured ammo at Gun Range San Diego through Worldwide Ammo Distribution. And so it's not the end of the world, folks. You don't have to pay all these fees. You don't have to do your, because to get your certificate of eligibility, you have to do a live scan. You have to, submit all your information to the Sheriff's Department to make that happen. So some people are like, well, that's just as bad as, getting my, getting the COE is even worse than doing my background check for ammo, and it is, because now you're liable. Me having a COE, a certificate of eligibility to sell. If something goes wrong during a sale, we know how litigious society likes to be. I'm just as liable as the person who made the purchase. If I didn't do my due diligence as the person with the COE, then I could be held liable. The FFL, i.e. Gun Range San Diego, could be liable for my actions as a COE haver, owner, operator, whatever, under their FFL. So, there's a lot more to it than just saying, hey, we'll go fill out some paperwork and I don't have to worry about all these fees. There's no perfect solution to this fiasco that Sacramento's put us in.
No, that's for sure.
It's definitely an option, but just realize it's not like, oh, I'll do this and I'm clear and free, because now you're responsible on a different level than maybe you were before. So just keep that in mind.
I just want to stockpile now, so I'll be over there.
Exactly. You got to come by because I'm telling you the ammo that we're selling this from Worldwide Ammunition is top notch, top shelf. If you go up to the facility, which is local, you can go in there. You can see how it's all made. You can see the process, what they go through, how painstaking it is. And then when you see the price, you're like, well, how do you pay all these people, make all this ammo and at this price?
Sell it at this price.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Not to mention, you mentioned 12 Guns of Christmas. This week is the Springfield 1911 stainless steel, and we're taking $110 off of it. No, instead of $840, it's $730.
Wow.
Man, that's a great base weapon.
It's phenomenal.
I have a couple Springfields, and they're just bitching.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine. Her name's Teal. She's a customer at Gun Range San Diego. She was out at our event yesterday. She always comes out and supports Alone and Unafraid. And her boyfriend is a former European Special Forces guy who lives here now. And he likes to come at Gun Range San Diego as well. And he just bought her this exact gun in the parkerized version, because he told her that, he goes, for simplicity's sake, for longevity, and here's he's a German Special Forces guy, and he says there's no better made weapon than the American 1911, designed by John Browning, and so that's what he bought her.
But what you said, it was a special. What was it?
Well, it's a stainless steel.
But you called it a name. You said it was parkerized it.
Well, there's two. Parkerized is like the black or that gray version.
Oh, okay.
That's that has the color to it, and then there's a stainless steel.
Gotcha.
So the stainless steel is a little more fancy. Yeah, for lack of a better word.
God, we think on the same line.
I don't know who's in more trouble. You or I.
I don't either.
But it's a little more fancy, for lack of a better vocabulary. And in parkerized, they don't have to treat the metal so nice, because at the end they're going to put a chemical base on it to give it that grayish black look.
Instead of a bluing.
Right, exactly. And which is more, bluing is very susceptible to scratches, rust, and that kind of thing. So the parkerization or even Cerakoting is much more durable. The gun's going to withstand the elements better. But nothing, as we all know from having our stainless steel knives, nothing beats stainless steel.
So from a base, like a military spec 1911, how different is the Springfield? I mean, is the ejection port a little bit different?
It used to be. That's a great question, Lance, because
I'm getting the hang of this
10 years ago, it used to be.
67 shows.
Exactly. So years ago, it used to be different. Like the mil spec, the injection port was smaller on the mil spec, because they wanted less dirt to be able to get in there for the GIs carrying it around, things like that. Well, since the government stopped issuing this as a sidearm to its forces, the mil spec is they're still within what's called the mil spec tolerance. But the ejection port has been this. Now it's the same as the commercial, so it's a little bit wider. And now everything from Springfield. If you have a Springfield, look at the serial number. If it starts with NM, November Mike, or in this case, National Match, it means it has a National Match barrel in it. Springfield said, you know what? There's no need to run two different barrel lines anymore. We're going to get rid of our standard GI mil spec barrel line, and we're going to run everything that comes out of Springfield now has a National Match barrel in it.
Wow.
Which means the landing grooves are tighter. It goes through a more stringent inspection process. So even the mil spec now is really a higher end 1911.
And they shoot so good. I have the loaded in a 9mm.
You have a loaded 9mm,
and then also that
you have the TRP.
Yeah. But the base deal is just awesome.
Yeah. Well, so the mil spec doesn't have quite as big of a beaver tail. The hammer is more of a burr style instead of the skeleton style. The sights are smaller because it's made to be pulled out of a holster.
Yeah.
So so it has these aesthetics that have been moved to a smaller scale so you can get in and out of a holster
Dave
faster.
would like that gun. That Springfield, Dave would like that gun.
It's
if he
one of
shot
the most ergonomic guns that's out
and
there.
it
It's a
just-
single stack 1911,
and the weight of it
caliber.
just negates that kick on that thing. It just shoots nice.
They shoot really well.
Yep,
it's
highly
old
recommended.
school. It's very Sergeant York looking.
Absolutely, and it's it gives you a little nostalgia and makes you like
and you can customize
when weapons were made out of iron and wood, not plastic and carbon fiber and all that kind of stuff.
And it's easy to change the grips on it and all kinds of stuff. So it's just easy.
And that's the great thing about it. 2 hours before we get here, 3 hours before we get here, it's all about cars. I mean, this is the most versatile. It's like buying a Honda Accord because how many people out there are making parts for Honda Accords to take a Honda Accord from a grocery getter to a race car?
Right.
It's the same thing. Or a Ford Mustang or whatever. There's so many people out there that you can buy this base model, shoot it, fall in love with it, spend a little money on it in the future, make it a little nicer, and before you know it, you have one of the best guns on the market.
Yeah, plus it's stainless steel too, so it just holds up really well.
Yeah, for only
I have stainless steel.
Yeah,
it just holds up really well.
$30.
That's a great price.
It's ridiculous.
Great price.
All right. Well, hey, what a great segment. And we're so happy to see the 12 Guns of Christmas back again.
We love it.
And that is going to run from Monday till Friday?
That runs from Sunday until Saturday.
Oh, till Saturday.
Sunday to Saturday. But here's something what we're doing this year that we didn't. Last year it was you had that week, and that was the only week you got. Now, if we got them in stock, it's still posted, you get the 12 Guns of Christmas price.
Wow.
So we still have that. We have a couple more of those Remington V3s, which is a phenomenal semi-automatic 26-inch barrel, 12-gauge shotgun, super lightweight, beaded sight, wonderful shotgun, $599.
Oh, wow.
You cannot beat. I want to get that, put an extended magazine tube on it, and that's going to be my new 3-gun shotgun.
Wow.
I mean, you can't beat it.
No, and you'll learn that all at Gun Range San Diego, folks. If you're really new to this industry and you don't know what you're talking about, go down and talk to the folks at Gun Range San Diego. They will just give you everything you ever need.
Yeah, we got our Glock 19s. We got
you got it all.
Yeah, all the ones that have been on there so far, they're still on sale. They're still cheap. We got all the OD green Glocks. That's a limited edition run that they do every few years.
Just go down, run into Joe,
Absolutely.
and say, "Hey, what do you got for me?" I know the board ops waving at me.
Sorry,
all right,
Jamie.
We're going to take a small break. When we come back, a whole lot more right here on Gun Range San Diego, AM 1170. The Answer. Folks, welcome back. This is Gun Sports Radio right here on AM 1170. Lance Belkey and I and Mike and Joe having more fun than you can possibly imagine.
We got to get the off-air on air.
I know. Then we'd all go to jail. Hey, this segment's brought to you by Trident Gunsmithing. Trident Gunsmithing, they can take care of all of your gun needs. They've got special discounts, 3% over cost on pistols and rifles for all next week. In fact, the crew here should be, I know I'm going to be there. Michael's going to be there. You going to make it Tuesday night?
I'm hoping.
Or are you going back to Italy?
Italy.
And then Joe's working. So we're going to be up there representing the radio show. So go on up, take advantage of some of the great discounts and sale items that they're going to have all next week. All right, Michael, tell us about your applying for a concealed carry.
Yeah, well,
are you doing it, or am I going to do it?
We should all. Everyone should consider it. It's as far as concealed carry. We've been working on this for years. It's one of the Second Amendment issues that we can have a direct impact on because the sheriff is the one that makes the decision, and so we've been working on it for years. We actually just shot a commercial on Friday, not a commercial, a short video on Friday. And we're going to release it this week. That's going to be a step-by-step how to apply for your CCW. And the reason is that we're being told by the sheriff and by the folks who we're working with on his command staff that they are looking to issue permits finally. And that they want to get rid of some of the onerous requirements, some of the paperwork that normally goes along with it. Usually you go down there and you'd have to come up with some kind of real specific idea or explanation as to why you want a CCW, and it usually boiled down to one of two things. One is you carried a lot of cash for a business purpose, or two, you're being threatened by someone specifically, and in order to prove that, you had to bring in mounds of bank statements to prove that, hey, I'm actually carrying cash and I actually own this business.
Yep.
Or you had to bring in, like some kind of police report saying, yeah, this person threatened me. And as a result, we have around 1,500 CCWs issued in San Diego County, which is extremely low.
Right.
So what they're saying now is that, hey, and they've posted some things on their website. There are 7 little bullet points on the website for the sheriff that say, yeah, these are some of the other criteria, some of the other categories, I should say, for people to apply. And basically, if you can articulate some kind of good cause, my job is this. I'm a painter and I carry a lot of equipment in the back of my truck, or something like that. Or
let me just throw this out, because Michelle, my co-host, on before me, because she's thinking about it, because she's listening as we speak, and she's thinking about it because her excuse, or I don't want to use that word, I mean not excuse, but her reasoning is, I'm a female, I'm single, I don't have anybody at home, I do go to a lot of car shows, I go to a lot of different events, I go to concerts, I go to all these things. She said that right there in itself should be enough.
Well, first off, I think,
but it's not.
I agree with her.
I think that we should find her a couple of nice guys to go on a date with, because it's too bad that she's alone. She's such a nice lady. But second,
and a great cook.
Yeah, she loves bringing cookies.
She brings cookies. I came in today, no oatmeal raisin, no peanut butter cookies. I'm like, what?
That's because I made her a pot roast sliders.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reciprocation.
I always feed her, but yeah. So I brought her some food. That's why she didn't bring you.
All right, but we're getting off topic.
But it has to be a little more specific. Like, what exactly what is she doing? Is she out? Does she go? We don't really know exactly what he'll accept. But she'll have to describe the situations. Like, is she, in the early morning before the sun comes up, is she out jogging? Right. Does she walk the dog late at night? Right. Does she go to work in a bad neighborhood? Yeah. Does she, drive home from work late at night? Something like that.
She walks a turtle. Does that help? Because you know how slow a turtle is.
Hey, I just got a text from one of our listeners, and it was like, I want to apply, but how much is this going to cost me? Is it worth the application fee?
So that's a good question. But just before we get on that question, have her describe a situation that she is a part of. Like I said, she goes to a bad neighborhood. There's crime on her street, and she walks late at night for exercise. Something like that. They're looking for some kind of story, like where are you actually going when you're outside of your house? Where are you actually going, and why do you need a CCW there? So let's go over the fees. The fees are actually capped by the state. So they can't charge more than $100, and that's about how much the sheriff charges.
I thought it was $500.
It's less than $500. So all the fees involved are, it's about $100 to apply. It's $20 for fingerprints. Okay. But then you got to take the class. The class can cost anywhere between, $150 to $300.
Oh, that's really
depending on where it is.
And we have them at Gun Range San Diego, by the way. We just bought that new facility. We got a brand new classroom right across the parking lot, so you can come over there.
Hey, Gun Sports Radio listeners get a discount?
Well,
we can work on it.
Let's work on it. We can make it happen.
Do you remember how much you guys?
Well, it's going to be different because it depends on. A lot of times these instructors like to say, "I'm only going to give a class if I have 20 students."
Oh yeah.
But what we're going to do is, if you want a class 1-on-1, you're going to get class 1-on-1. If you want a class part of a group, you don't mind that, you can do class part of a group. So it depends on if you want to go on a scheduled class, or if you want your private class, or things like that. So I'm not going to throw any prices out because I don't want to. I don't want to cut the instructor's knees out, because he charges based on how many students he has at the time.
So now here's the thing. So that could vary, right? Plus you got to buy 100 rounds. I think it's 72 rounds or something.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of money there. So by the time you're done, if it's
you're in at $500,
$350, $400 is probably about where it is. But figure around $400, something like that. I say it's less than $500 usually. That's probably more than is really what most people spend.
So are you going to try to get one?
Honestly, I'm sending dozens of people in to get one. Dozens of different scenarios. I do security for my church. Okay,
so you're just going to sit back and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to sit back because, to be totally honest, the sheriff and I have talked about a number of different issues, and then he'll turn around and tell groups like a half truth about me. Oh, I sat down and talked with Mike. Oh, we sat down and talked about this. What he doesn't tell him is, well, I didn't. Yeah, it was a horrible talk. I made some suggestions. You didn't take them.
Yeah.
So I don't want him to say, well, gee, Mike's got his CCW. What's he complaining about? So I've really made the decision that.
Good idea.
Yeah, until, Joe San Diego can get his CCW.
Yeah.
And probably nobody in this room should probably go after it like you said. I think we should follow your lead.
Go after it. Yeah, you guys should go.
Because I can't wait. Because
I want to go to your class.
I've already been turned down once and I have guns. I have keys and codes to a gun store. We don't close till 10 o'clock at night over gun range San Diego. So by the time we sweep the floors, clean the range, clear out the registers, things like that, it's 11 o'clock. I'm leaving, an industrial area at 11 o'clock at night.
Right. No, that's not good.
So now it's my understanding, what I'm being told is that you won't have to have a letter from your employer. It won't hurt. But you won't have to have a letter from your employer, but you'll have to prove somehow that you work for the gun range.
Well, I have my paycheck.
Try that out. Yeah. We're still kind of fleshing this out. But you were asking about price. So if you go down there, it's $100 to apply. It's $20 for fingerprints. Now, if you pay that and then they find out, oh, this guy has a domestic violence or some kind of drunken disorderly or something like that, and they deny you, then you're out that $120.
But see, you should be smart enough to know
yourself for that.
You got to be smart enough not to go apply when you've got, say, a federal offense on you or a criminal offense,
or even some domestic violence is a misdemeanor.
Well, I would ask that DUI. Question before I wrote you a check.
Right. So is there a chance you'll lose money? Yeah, it's capped at $120. You can
go to the website and it'll list out like these are automatic disqualifiers.
It doesn't. It's not all that clear, to be honest with you. On the application, it talks a little bit about it, but. He has enough discretion to where, he could, it's not as clear as it needs to be.
Yeah, maybe I've been in the industry enough because when I read it, it seemed pretty cut and dry.
All right, we got about a minute left. So, folks, you need to go to Facebook, like us on Facebook. You can email questions at info@gunsportsradio.com.
Yep.
Go to our lovely website, gunsportsradio.com.
That's right.
Just get involved. Support our sponsors, Gun Range San Diego, Trident Gunsmithing. Hopefully you don't need to use John Dillon, Gatsky, Dillon, and Balance, but if you do, it's a great resource for questions. Again, AM 1170, The Answer. You get that app. Listen to us anywhere around the world. iHeartRadio. Facebook.com/gunsportsradio/ Come on out. Have some fun with us. Next Tuesday, go to Trident Gunsmithing because Mike's going to have his little shindig up there, and it'll be a ton of fun.
If
all right,
you
folks.
Want to learn something, go there.
Yeah, yep. Keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up. We are out of here.
Gun Sports Radio is sponsored by Love Radio Network.